What's going on, YouTube? So today I want to talk to you about how to start a business. Like, what exactly does it entail? What is the process? What are the steps to take in order to even create a business? So you actually came to the right place, but make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button, especially if you like content where I'm going to be describing and showing you in details how to create a business, how to keep it, grow it, and maintain it. So without further ado, let's get to it. I have 3 different tips for you guys, especially if you are new to this and starting a business of something that you knew you always wanted to do, but you just didn't know how to do it. So here's my top 3 tips for people who want to start a business. Number 1, the idea. You have to have an idea. If you don't have an idea of what, don't worry, keep going. It takes years of experience, sometimes some more, some less than others, to finally figure out that you want to jump out and start something on your own. So the important part is to, number 1, have an idea. And with that idea, you need to start thinking about what is the goal of this business idea that you have. And that's pretty much what are you going to be fulfilling as far as the needs. Is there a need for a market? Have you strategically researched the market that you saw that there was an opportunity there that you can jump in and actually succeed in, as far as looking at it from a strength and weaknesses perspective? And this is some real good content. Here is something that we learned in grad school, and this is something that every Fortune 500 company use, and they conduct SWOT analysis. Now, what is a SWOT analysis? And I'll start with the S. It's SWOT. It is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So when you're looking for what kind of business you are going to start, what is the goal, this is something that you need to be taking into perspective as far as how you're going to go about doing business. For example, let's start with the S, strengths. Now, I'm not going to get all creative with you right now, but I'm going to use an example of a company, a well-known company such as, drumroll, PayPal. PayPal was created because there was a need for additional privacy when you were conducting business and transactions across different websites. And one of the owners of PayPal used to be, or one of the original founders of PayPal used to be Elon Musk, who actually sold his part of the company and started Tesla, SpaceX, and the Boring Company. PayPal, if you think about PayPal saw that there was a need for additional privacy for customers who are purchasing items and goods and services off other people's websites. So PayPal decided to step in and be the middleman and conduct transactions between the receiver and the sender. That was actually one of the best ideas in a long time, if you think about it from a business perspective. Giving customers that additional security and privacy is pretty much a must nowadays, especially with all the cybersecurity and issues that we're having in today's current society. And the weakness, what is the weakness of PayPal? Well, the PayPal weakness is that it's not a bank. They don't finance. They have people like the giants, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, who could have actually done what they did, but the thing is, they successfully conducted their threats and opportunities. When you successfully conduct your analysis on your threats and opportunities, you can penetrate any market that you want. And that's one of the good things about conducting a SWOT analysis when you are starting a business, is penetrating a market can be fast and furious, and nobody can stop you because you already have the business plan. Have you ever seen, now I'll give you an example. Have you ever seen Chick-fil-A, how they actually have they have order takers outside standing, going up to cars and actually taking orders? And then you go to like I don't know, your favorite fast food burger chain, and they're trying to do the same thing, and it's just like, it's looking like a hot mess, right? The good thing about business creation is that once you start your process, it's very hard to duplicate. Companies will try to imitate what you're doing, but it's actually hard to duplicate the process, because I don't know why it is you would think that multi-million-dollar companies are able to do that. Like, oh, I'm just going to reverse engineer a spacecraft. No, it's actually a lot harder than that, because there was a process. For instance, if they decide to put the semiconductors in before the fuel injectors, then that could throw off the whole spacecraft. The spacecraft may not even fly like they thought it was going, like it intended to. Even though they reverse engineered, it still doesn't take off or flies like the craft they reverse engineered. That takes time for them to go back and repuzzle and refigure that whole layout. Meanwhile, it's costing them boatloads of money and time. A lot of money is getting thrown into R&D, and the product is not coming out the way they intended to. So in the same way with a business, it's hard to duplicate a process. You can try to imitate it. There's going to be imitators all over. If you think about it, eBay was the first person to come out, and then you saw a lot of companies kind of a lot of websites started to do it, but what they ended up doing is they saw the strengths and weaknesses and threats and opportunities on eBay, and they absolutely executed. And now you got companies like Shopify, Amazon, Alibaba, all these different companies that saw what eBay was doing and took their business model and retweaked it, and now we have the e-commerce age. We're in the e-commerce age, and that's pretty much how it works as far as conducting a SWOT analysis. Tip number 2. This is a recurring phrase that I heard in graduate school when I was in my graduate studies. Start with the end in mind. That means whatever goal or whatever business you have in mind, you should absolutely start with the end in mind. And let me tell you why. Because if you can vision where your business can go or where it should go, then you are more likely and willing to step out further for your business. You're more likely willing to take risk to get your business where you need to go. And that also puts you in a mental preparedness to be able to do what you need to do in order to get your business where it needs to go. There will be nothing holding you back. You know that you made a risk. You are taking a chance. You're doing something that a lot of Americans don't do. A lot of people in the world don't do. So it is very important for you to be able to step out and go for it. With that being said, just do it. There will be no business if you don't start one. There'll be none. It can be in your head all day. You can think about it. You can plan and plan and plan. But until you start doing it, it doesn't exist. It only exists in your head. And you're going to be stuck at step 1, which is the ideal of it. There are a lot of people with a lot of ideas. And I firmly believe that if you have a great idea, if you do not act on it, it will float like a radio wave onto the next person, until that one person that actually hits, they snap their fingers, and then they're doing that same thing. And then next thing you know, you see a commercial, an ad, and you like, I had that same idea. You know why? Because you had it first. You allowed it to escape. Everybody you come and you interact with, they are feeling those waves that you are setting off. You're sending people, especially if you are a person who is very communicative to everybody. Even by you mentioning the very thought or idea that you have for a business, it's already out there. Your ideal is broadcasting. And if you don't act on it, somebody else will, and you're going to be highly disappointed that you didn't do it. You didn't act on it. So be very careful when you have these ideas. You need to act on them, or somebody else will. Also, mentors. When you're starting a business, and I don't know if you don't know this yet, but when you start surrounding yourself around like-minded people, mentors will actually find you. You could, and it's something as simple as going to Starbucks for a coffee and overhearing a conversation. Or there may be a guy, you may be downtown in one of the luxury areas, and somebody may walk up to you. You never know who they are, and they may introduce themselves for God knows what reason. But I know one thing for a fact, and that's rich people that like talking about themselves, and they will tell you how they made their money, and they would be more than willing to help you get there because they already have what you are desiring. They feel validated because you are asking them about their ways, their methods. They will talk to you. They will be more than willing to sit down with you and grab a cup of coffee and chat with you just out of formal or informal conversations. That leads to ultimately that meeting that you may need, or those certain phrases that you may hear. You may be like, what do you mean by this? Tell me more. I actually started something similar like this, and I was looking for a little bit of help, and that'll boost you and get you off to where you need to be. It's not as hard as we think, guys. One of the hardest things is believing in ourselves. If you have to believe in yourself, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to start your own business, you have to believe in yourself, bet on yourself. And last but not least, number 3, and that is, don't be afraid to push your brand. Say it with me. Don't be afraid to push your brand. Let that sink in. Let it melt. Let it stir in your brain. All right. Got it? It's nice and textured, right? Okay, good. Now we can move forward. Social media. All right. If you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, you need to be able to push your brands. You should want to push your brands on these platforms. And don't be afraid, because this is how you get brand awareness. Your brand goes nowhere without awareness. If you could have one of the greatest ideas ever and it could tank or go nowhere because nobody knows what you're talking about, nobody knows who you are, nobody knows your brand, because you simply have not done enough broadcasting, you have not done enough advertising on your own. You have not done enough advertising on your own before you even get into the budgeting and advertising, promoting your brand. You have not done enough advertising on your own. Before you get into the promoting and advertising your brand, you need to do everything you can in your own power that's free. And that's simply posting about your product, posting about your brand, your services, your goods. What do you have to offer? What is the need that you're feeling? What is your goal? And you have to be able to strategically use these platforms to build your brand awareness. You remember, guys, an impression is just as good as any sell. As far as when you're starting off, it's just as good as a sale. So you have to make sure you realize that these are all important things, because you may not realize it, but there may be somebody who sees your brand in the present, and then later on down the line, maybe 2-3 weeks from now, they may think of that same brand like, what was that? Oh, that new brand. Let me try this person because I know they're a startup and I want to help them succeed. More than likely, guys, people want to do the right thing and they don't mind helping you succeed. They want to see you do good. Get rid of this guilty feeling of wanting to better for yourself. You have to be willing to show off your goods, your services, or whatever it is that you are trying to provide to the people. Get rid of the guilty feeling, because that part is over with. It was done with as soon as you had this idea, and as soon as you started it, that part was done. The guilty feeling, oh, I don't want to promote myself. I don't want to feel like people I'm doing better than others, or I'm too good, or get rid of that, because at the end of the day, the first people that you're going to go to or you're going to be posting advertising to are pretty much going to be your family members, family and friends. And I can tell you right now, hopefully you can get about 5 to 10% of those family and friends to assist you building your brand and awareness. Maybe they can share some posts, like some links, like some blogs that you do. But ultimately, there's a crowd for everybody. There is everybody takes interest in anything. If you don't believe me, guys, just go look at the amount of things you can Google. There's an interest for any and everything. There are forums literally dedicated to whatever it is across the World Wide Web. And this is from interests from anime all the way to construction, to real estate, to whatever it is that you want, travelers, bloggers. There's always a target. There's always a crowd that will like your product or can find some use for your good or service. And last but not at the least of this category is, and stay consistent. You have to stay consistent. It's going to be hard at times. I get it. Starting a business is intimidating. There's going to be times where you're not sure about your ideas. You're not sure about your goals. However, the only thing I can really just tell you is to stay consistent, because at the end of the day, you had an idea. You started with the end in mind. The only thing left to do is to stay consistent. Stay your path. Don't let anybody knock you from it. Just like I gave you guys 3 tips for you self-starters out there, I also have about 3 cautions for you. All right, and this is where it gets a little nitty gritty. Number 1, naysayers, doubters. Absolutely be aware and be highly conscious of who you keep around you. Like I said, just the same way with finding a mentor is the same way that could crash your business or stop you from following, chasing your dreams, are naysayers. I don't care who they are, family, friends, close associates. If they don't believe in you, get rid of them. You need to put people around you who are going to be encouraging you and supporting you. If it's anything other than that, they don't need to be around you, especially for a self-starter. You don't understand that there's a lot of risk that you're taking. You're stepping out on a limb. So you have to put people around you in your group and in your circle that are going to be willing to provide you the support when you need it, that are going to be willing to give you words of encouragement when you're at your lowest point. And if you don't have that, there will be no self-starter. There'll be no business because you're going to be too discouraged to even finish it or finish what you started. So just be aware of the naysayers, guys. Get around new people, like-minded people who got the same ideas, who have done the research, and y'all can have good conversations. Budget wisely. You don't want to set a budget that can cripple your life savings or anything, because starting a new business is going to cost you money to get to places. So make sure you have a nice little nest egg that you can use on the back end as far as promoting, getting meetings. So sometimes you're going to have to do this, guys. Sometimes you're going to have to promote on certain platforms where it could be more helpful than it could harm you whether you just not attempted to try it. So just budget wisely and just make sure you're watching where you're spending your money, and spending wisely is all. That's pretty much all I can say about that point. Also, growth. Be aware of how fast you want to grow your business. Don't grow too fast. And I understand that sounds completely crazy, but there is a reason why some businesses like Facebook didn't start monetizing their platform until, later years down the line, because they wanted to bring in all these billions and billions and millions and millions of people right on their platform. Now, when they got all these millions of subscribers, millions of logins, emails, address, phone numbers, they got the world largest data breach was on Facebook. They got so much data on Facebook has so much data from around the world. But that just goes to my point is this. Be aware of your growth, because had they would have started the monetizing, then they would have not got the subscribers they have now. They probably still have a lot, but not as many as they do today. Because people would be wary of all the advertising and ads, and they'd be like, I don't want to deal with it. But since they waited so long and they got the clientele up, then they was able to come out and start monetizing not only commercial web advertising, but there's also personal and fan page web monetizing. So Facebook is pretty much, they have a business model that's running like an old up machine. It's not going to stop. It's going to be around forever. They're actually changing it to metaverse. They make so much money. I don't know the last time you checked the Facebook balance sheet, but they're balanced. What they make compared to how much debt they owe, it's laughable. So that's all I have for today, guys. If you like this video, like I said, there's plenty more content coming in the future showing you how to start a business and how to keep it, maintain, and grow it. Make sure you like and subscribe. All right. Until next time, see you later.